I didn't wake up thinking about, hey, I'm going to go to work and shoot somebody. I understand the totality of it, and it's something that I think about every day one way or another. Family won't be able to see her anymore on holidays, on her birthday. Her mom and her dad will never be able to see her. Family, friends. But I know I did the right thing. If I could have done something else, I would have done it. I didn't want her to die.
Welcome to the No Streetlights podcast. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Tim. We're veterans, here to talk about mental health, resilience, and the real struggles we face every day.
Our goal is to foster kindness through understanding. So, let's take a breath, relax, and be welcome.
So today's episode hits heavy, but it also carries one of the most powerful messages we've ever shared. And that's healing is possible, even in the darkest of chapters.
We're going to be joined by Captain Adam Meyers. He's a Wisconsin police officer, an Army veteran, and a certified, Tim, can I get an amen? He is a certified peer specialist who is here to share some really incredible truths with us. He had to do something that Tim and I are very grateful that we haven't had to do, and that is he had to use deadly force. This event occurred in 2016, and Adam spiraled into the self-destructive cycle that we know most people who are going through trauma engage with. He coped through alcohol, which is something that Tim relates to very well. And I guess I relate to self-harm since my neck's all jacked up, and it's got to be my fault because it's my neck. Yeah. But he's also engaged with isolation like the rest of us, ostracizing himself from his friends and stuff because, well, you guys know why.
And the thing here about Adam's story is we're not bringing him on to commiserate about, how horrible life was and everything. Adam didn't stay in that position, right? He fought his way back. He used modalities like EMDR. He used therapy, confronting the pain head on. And guess what? Now that he's healed, he's helping others in law enforcement and beyond stop the stigma around mental health, which makes him a perfect candidate for our show.
You said the name of the thing in the thing. Good job.
Stop the stigma.
This one is raw. It's going to be honest. It's going to be important. If you've ever felt like your pain was too big to come back from, Adam's story might be the light you've been looking for. So, Captain, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to share my experience. And I know I'm not the only one suffering. I am getting better. I'm healing day after day, but I'm not the only one. It's okay to talk about your mental health. You're not alone. Don't suffer in silence. I know it's kind of like beating a dead horse. People always say it's okay to be okay, but it really is. But there's that strong stigma associated with mental health. And that's why first responders, military, and just pretty much anyone doesn't reach out because they're afraid of that stigma. They're afraid of being judged and criticized. And, if it's work related, people are concerned that they're going to lose their livelihood. If they have a mortgage, if they're married, if they have kids, what's going to happen? I got a boat payment, I got a house payment, I got a car payment. If I get fired, I'm not going to have any money. So a lot of people just suffer in silence. They try to take care of it themselves like I did for many years, and it didn't work for me, and it doesn't work for most people. And so thanks for this opportunity, and it's okay to talk about your mental health, and that's what we're going to do today. So
I want to point out really quick to all of our audio listeners out there, if you're not watching the video over on YouTube, first of all, you should go check it out because I put a lot of time and effort into it, and our YouTube's blowing up. So it's a great opportunity. It's an awesome community.
Don't miss out.
But also, Adam is wearing this incredible vest patch that says, Adam, can I get you to say what it is over there?
Yeah, I'm wearing a tactical vest that, you see police officers wear all the time. And it says, it's okay to talk about it, mental health. And it's the commonly known removable patch from the tactical vest. And it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to talk about mental health.
What else do you want the audience to know about you? Do you rock climb? Do you snowboard? Or do you do a triathlon every once in a while?
I wish. I mean, I'm 50 years old, so my knees don't feel as good as they used to. I do like kayaking. I do like the outdoors. One of the things that I really enjoy doing is long distance walking. It's therapeutic. It helps. I get a lot of thinking done when I'm walking. I'm listening to my 1990s hip hop music because I was born in 1975. So, and I graduated from high school in 93. So I listened to some hip hop, some Tupac, some Missy Elliott. You know, I like the bass and it gets me going.
No one knows what it means, but it's provocative.
No, it's not. It
Gets the people going.
It's
That's enough.
I found that walking and hiking is really therapeutic for me because I think a lot. Any kind of challenges that I'm facing in life, I kind of work it out while I'm walking. And long distance walking, I mean like anywhere from 7 to 10 miles. I just put the shoes on and get out there and go. I like anything outdoors, kayaking, mountain biking. But I hadn't done that for many years because I was suffering in silence. But once I started getting healthy, I figured out what worked for me. And that's what I stick to. Usually after I would speak or share my experience with somebody, you know, it's pretty triggering and stressful. This is stressful a little bit for me, but it's also therapeutic because I learn about myself. But initially what I would do is after I would share my experience, I'd hit up a fast food restaurant and hit the value meal and get a bunch of burgers or something and kind of cope that way, you know. But now, like after we're done talking, I'll probably go out for a nice walk or heck, even maybe take a nap. I got the day off, so why not? The day's mine.
That's something I've been talking with my like inner circle about lately.
Yeah.
Is the fact that so many people use food as a coping mechanism.
Oh yeah.
And that it is difficult to watch someone love themselves to death when we want to be there for them and we want to love them.
Absolutely. I'm an emotional eater. And I found out that when I first started speaking about my experience, my youngest daughter came to a couple of my presentations and she's like, "Dad, you sure like pizza." And I was like, "Really?" She goes, "You mention it a lot." And it's true because that night after I had my critical incident, what did I do? I went home and I ordered a pizza. And I didn't realize until probably a couple of years ago that eating a pizza is triggering to me now because that's what I did to cope. And I'm like, wow, I didn't realize it. You know, I'd see it, let's say a pizza in the refrigerator, like in the break room at work or something. And I wouldn't just have a couple pieces. I would have like 5, 6 pieces, ask if anybody's going to finish the pizza, eat the whole thing. I mean, I'm like, wow. So once I started figuring it out and I started getting mentally healthy, I was like, pizza's a trigger for me. And I never realized that.
Huh.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I love that you brought that up because I've been going through a cognitive behavioral therapy course for the past couple of weeks. And one of the huge things that they're talking about is like how you begin to associate stuff with other things. Yeah. Like the particular that I'm going through is for insomnia because I have really bad sleep issues. You know, shift workers unite. Am I right? Mm-hmm. But they're talking about like, you know, if you have a hard time sleeping, you start associating the bed with restlessness. In your case, right, you had this traumatic event, you coped by eating some pizza. And now when you see pizza, you're like, oh no, like it brings back, you're like, your mind is like, oh my God, the traumatic event, like it's back in my memory because of this pizza. Right. That's so incredible. It's so crazy how the brain works. For anybody out there, like just think about that. Your brain is wild, man.
Yeah, it is.
Adam, again, I really want to thank you for being here. And we have a lot to get through. I'm so glad we had this opportunity to sit down. I do want to talk a little bit about the actual critical incident that occurred back in 2016.
Right. Well, my critical incident happened on April 8th, 2016, which was a Friday at 5:15 p.m. Before that incident, I loved being a cop just as much as I love being a cop now. But, you know, things were different. I was a different person. I was a different police officer before my shooting. And obviously that makes sense now. But before I was a single dad to two daughters. Sydney Marie is my oldest. Peyton Elizabeth is my youngest. You know, I got along with my ex-wife. There were no hard feelings. We were cordial. But before I would eat healthier, I would exercise. I enjoyed my days off. After my critical incident, once I was cleared and went back to work, I started suffering in silence. I started struggling. I stopped drinking wine because I went through all my wine bottles like that, and I went right to liquor.
Yeah, I can relate in that sense. So first of all, you had like that idyllic, like white picket fence kind of style life, two incredible children. You had a great relationship with the mother of your children. That's so awesome. A lot of people, they don't get to experience that even at the best in their life, which is.
Yeah, I was blessed. Even during the divorce, it was just, she didn't go after my retirement. I didn't have to pay child support. I didn't have to pay alimony. The marriage just wasn't working out and ended. So it was pretty cordial. And being a police officer and hearing all the different stories, and even through, friends, I'm like, wow, I really am blessed. I really am lucky, because it was, we got divorced very quickly, and it was all about the kids. It was about raising these two beautiful daughters and doing the best we could to co-parent. And sure, it wasn't easy. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It wasn't always easy. It wasn't always great. But a lot of times when we communicated, and a lot of times that when my ex-wife and I argued, it was about the girls.
So after your critical incident, you mentioned, you got cleared to go back to work, and you had quickly swapped out the wine for hard liquor. What was kind of happening at this point in your life? Like, could you start seeing the spiral, or were you so blinded by what was happening? You couldn't even control it anymore. The storm was all around you.
The storm was all around me. I mean, I could see it, but I wasn't blinded to it. I could see it, but I guess I just didn't admit it or recognize, like, hey, yeah, you got to knock this off, Adam, because this isn't working for you. This isn't healthy. I mean, I saw it. So my shooting happened on April 8th, 2016. It was a Friday, 5:15 p.m., busy time of the afternoon at Walmart. And I was sitting at the police department working on a retail theft report when I was dispatched to Walmart. And it wasn't a very emergent call. There were two chaperones with a lady who was struggling with mental health, and she actually was a patient at a state mental health facility, and she was out on a good behavior pass. They had went to a fast food restaurant, and then they went across the street to Walmart, and they were doing some shopping. And when the chaperones told her it was time to leave, she refused to leave, and she walked over to the sporting goods section, where she ripped open a hatchet from the packaging. So I started responding. I grabbed my laptop, walked out the back of the police department, jumped in my squad car, and just started driving to Walmart. It was about 2 miles away. And initially the call came in as a 911 hang-up call. Our dispatch center called the chaperone back and found out what was going on and kept them on the line, which was good because they could constantly give me a play-by-play as to what was going on. And while I was responding, dispatch advised me that she was trying to rip open a knife from the packaging. Then they advised me that now she's in possession of a knife and was threatening customers. So that's when everything changed. Activated my lights and sirens and stepped it up, and started traveling to Walmart at a higher rate of speed. Now, all the Walmarts are pretty much set up the same. There's an auto center, and right next to the auto center, you have a sporting goods section, and that's where this person was. So I thought, I'll respond through the auto center in hopes that I make contact with her in the back of the store and isolate her back there, so she wouldn't walk up towards the front of the store, and we can kind of contain her back there and disarm her. Well, I was responding. They advised me that now she's walking towards the front of the store. So that idea to respond to the auto center wasn't going to happen anymore. So I entered the parking lot, and I remember, it's Friday, 5:15. There's so many people, hundreds of people in the store, very busy in the parking lot. And I'm thinking, will you move out of the way? Nobody would move out of the way. Like a lot of people, when they see a police car or a fire engine with the lights and sirens going, they're looking, hey, what's going on? This is cool. And I'm thinking, will you move? There's an emergency in the store. So what I decided to do is I decided to park in front of the general merchandise entrance. And I did that because I was hoping that if people were coming to Walmart and they saw this police car kind of blocking the entrance with the lights going, they would decide not to go in that door. I left my lights on, but I turned my sirens off. I exited my patrol vehicle and immediately drew my weapon because I had no idea where she was. I knew that she was walking towards the front of the store. She could have been right there in the vestibule right away, and I could have made contact with her right away. I went into the vestibule. I kept walking into the store, and there was a man and woman there. And I said, "Where is she?" And they kind of pointed down the aisle, one of the main aisles, to the lawn and garden, health and beauty department. So I ran down there, and that's when I made contact with her. Her back was facing towards me, and I could tell she was making some kind of chopping motion, and she was chopping up bags of weed and feed that were on a pallet. So I identified myself and made her, gave her multiple commands, and she turned around and faced me. And that's when I realized she didn't have a knife. She had a hatchet. Not that a knife was any less threatening, but that's what I was thinking that she had was a knife, a typical pocket knife and something like that. But when she turned and faced me, I saw the hatchet in her hand. I'm thinking, that's not a knife, that's a hatchet. So my weapon was in the ready position. She continued to walk towards me. I gave her multiple verbal commands to stop, to drop the hatchet. She didn't listen, so that's when I decided to shoot. 2 rounds. 1 round went in and out of one of her legs, and the second round hit her kind of in the torso area right here in the sternum, and then she fell to the ground. I remember the shots being so loud, it was like a broken speaker. And as you can imagine how loud gunshots are in the open air, but now we're inside a building.
Yeah.
I remember everything seemed surreal. I knew what I was doing. I knew everything what was going on around me, but it just seemed surreal. And I remember everything was heightened, especially my hearing. And when everything came back to me, it was crystal clear. And the only way that I can define it or explain it is it sounded something like this. And then everything was crystal clear again. I was looking around at customers that were there, and I said, please check yourself. Please check each other. I wanted to make sure my shots only struck her and nobody else. There was a Walmart associate there. I said, please get on the intercom and see if there's a doctor or a nurse in the store. And if there is, can you please have them come over here and help until the ambulance got on scene? I let dispatch know there were shots fired. And the first thing I truly remember seeing were these brightly colored beach towels on an end cap. And I also remember hearing her chaperone say something like, it's the police, he shot her, he just shot her. And it sounded like she was standing this close to my ear and just talking in my ear, but she was, I would say maybe 25 feet away from me. But I was tuned into everything.
Yeah.
So it seemed surreal. And, I know when I pulled the trigger that I changed lives. Not only did I take her life, I took away somebody's mom. She had a 6-year-old daughter at the time. My daughters were young. I understand the totality of it, and it's something that I think about every day one way or another. Family won't be able to see her anymore on holidays, on her birthday. Her mom and her dad will never be able to see her. Family, friends. But I know I did the right thing. If I could have done something else, I would have done it. I didn't want her to die. I didn't wake up thinking about, hey, I'm going to go to work and shoot somebody.
To clarify for any of our listeners out there who don't understand, we have been told since day one of our training, and I'm sure Adam can agree on this, but we have been told that today could be the day. Okay. And for us, that means today could be the day that we have to utilize deadly force in order to neutralize the threat. Now, understand our intention behind this is not because we want to, but sometimes situations happen and we have to, because that is what we need to do to ensure the safety of others.
And this is a Taoist concept that we often talk about at Shaolin. And that's sometimes we must destroy so that we may preserve. If someone's going to take your life or the life of another, that's really the only time it's appropriate to step up to, level 6 on the force continuum if you're an active whatever. But I love that one of the references we have here for you says, I still feel shame for the ways I coped and the ways I treated people.
Right.
And something I know very intimately as a disabled vet is that pain will make a monster out of anyone before too long.
I did. I coped poorly, and I have another path here, and it kind of describes my different coping strategies. They call it a strategy. It's not a strategy. It didn't help me by any means. It caused me more stress, depression, anxiety, but it's alcohol, casual sex, and drugs. I mean, when I was poorly coping with alcohol, I was abusing alcohol. I wasn't just having a 6-pack of beer. I have an example here. Here's a 750 milliliter bottle of vodka. It's one of the cheapest vodkas you can buy. And I would drink this whole bottle in less than 30 minutes and sleep the day away. I have a simulated wine glass here. And what I would do is I would make my own cocktails with wine. I'd pour the wine in there. Sometimes I'd add like NyQuil. Sometimes I'd add ZQuil. Sometimes I'd even, I'd have allergy pills or something. Whatever I can do to kind of numb that feeling, to feel good, to knock myself out. There was one time I even reached into the medicine cabinet, and my oldest daughter had some cough medicine, some prescribed cough medicine with codeine in it. And I poured it right in the wine glass, and I drank it away. And codeine makes you all warm and fuzzy, and it feels good. You can just lay on the couch and binge eat food or whatever. I was just doing it to escape. I didn't care. I was looking for the next thing to make me feel good. And that's comes to casual sex. Sex is fun. It's playful. It's exciting. It's something that you should share with somebody you love and that's special to you. But I would go online and I would meet women strictly for sex, and we'd meet, and sometimes in 30 minutes or less, we'd be having sex. And I did that for years. And that's when we talk about that shame, I am shameful for how I acted with casual sex, even though it was agreed upon and we agreed to have sex. There was one time I'm laying in bed with a woman and I'm thinking, you got to knock this off, Adam. I started not liking myself. We just got done having sex, feeling good, and I'm laying there and we're snuggling and I'm thinking, you got to stop. You got to stop. I remember starting not to like myself. But the thing is that feeling that you get with sex wasn't enough for me to stop. Although I was always worried about, what if I get her pregnant? What if I get an STD? But that still wasn't enough to make me stop. So, another thing that I tried was marijuana for the first time. And a lot of people are like, it's just pot. It's no big deal. It was to me. All my life, I prided myself in never doing any kind of drugs. And I remember before I was in the process of going into the Army, I was at the Milwaukee, Wisconsin MEP station, and they were asking different questions like, hey, have you ever done marijuana? And I'm like, no. And they're like, mm-hmm. You could tell they didn't believe me. And I was like, I've never done marijuana. And they're like, well, you can still be military police. You just have to be honest with us. And I said, I've never done drugs. But you could tell that they didn't believe me. So, after my shooting, I tried marijuana. I smoked marijuana. I tried a marijuana gummy. And the thing is I was always so intoxicated that I don't even remember the feeling of being high. So not only did I ruin that streak of never doing drugs, but then when I did drugs, I didn't even feel what a lot of people say are the good side effects, that high. But I was always looking for the next thing to help me escape, to numb my feelings, to numb the thoughts I was having. But none of that worked. All it did was cause me more stress, more anxiety, more depression, more feelings of being overwhelmed, more paranoia. It didn't help. That's why. So when they say strategies, it's not a strategy. It's coping. It's negatively coping.
And I understand this only got worse.
There was one time, it was the 4th of July week, going into the 4th of July weekend. And, I struggled going to work many, many times. And I felt like I ran out of excuses. I felt like I ran out of going in to my chief and saying, Chief, I'm sorry. I can't be here today. I just feel off. And if I would have continued to do that, it would have been great. It would have been okay because my chief supported me. He supported me 100%. I know he was genuine because I would hear him support me when he didn't know I was there. I could have been around the corner, down the hall from his office, and I would hear him, talking to somebody in support of me. So I knew it was genuine, but I felt like I ran out of excuses. So during this week, I didn't want to work the busy 4th of July weekend. So what I did was I have a 12-inch crescent wrench right here. What I did was self-harm. I hit my knee many times to cause enough redness, abrasions, bruising, and then I hobbled into the nearest emergency room, urgent care, and said I slipped and fell down out my back door and struck my knee on a manhole cover that was covering a septic tank. I lied. I lied because I felt like I was running out of excuses to work. So what happened? They did x-rays. They gave me crutches. They gave me pain meds. I got all to work. I remember hobbling into the police department on my crutches, going to the chief and giving him my doctor's excuse and telling him, I can't work. This is what happened. I lied to my chief. I lied to the number one person that supported me. And how much that hurts now. This is a framed statement that he made to the media. He said, I think he believed that he had no other choice. I support him. He was talking about me to the media, that I support Officer Meyers. So if I would have went into the chief and just sat down and had a heart-to-heart and said, Chief, I don't know what's going on, but I'm struggling right now. I can't work. He would have said, that's okay. Take time off, because he's done it before. But I felt like I ran out of excuses. So I felt like I had to come up with just a huge lie to get out of work, to the point where I hurt myself. Another time what I did was I was literally taking a shower, thinking about how I could get out of work. And I thought to myself, well, when I drive to the police department, there's 2 fast food restaurants. There's a Burger King and a McDonald's. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to drive through the drive-thru at Burger King. I'm going to get a whole bunch of breakfast food and a couple orange juices to wash it down. Then I'm going to hit up McDonald's after that, do the same thing. Then when I get to the police department, I'm going to play the role of the sick employee and make myself throw up. Why? Because I felt like I ran out of excuses. That was my mindset. So I went into the police department, acted like I was sick, went into the police department's bathroom, left the door open a little bit, just enough for people to hear me throw up, just enough so when I vomit and intentionally miss the toilet a little bit, so I have some, throw up on the floor
Physical
so they can
evidence,
see it too. It's going to all add to the lie and the story. And then tell the chief I'm sick. I got to go home, which I was sent home right away. I'm ashamed of that. I say it's not me. That was me at the time. It's not me now, but I had people that cared about me and that supported me. But what did I do? I lied to them. And I really, truly believe it's because of that stigma. I really do. I should have been able to go in like I had done before that and say, I'm just feeling off. I got to go home, because I was able to go home. Things were okay. We talk about abusing alcohol. This is something that's pretty serious right there. Suicide. You can't come back from that. That's the real deal right there. And when I was intoxicated, I easily put my duty weapon to my head a dozen times. And this is a plastic replica of my duty weapon. There's no working parts. It's all plastic. This is a Glock Model 22 40 caliber. And what I would do is I'd remove the magazine, clear the chamber, take the round out, and I'd put the barrel to my temple and I would pull the trigger, because there's that metallic click. And that's what I was hearing and feeling, is that metallic click. And I don't think I wanted to kill myself, but I still don't know why I did it. And a lot of people think maybe you were preparing yourself. Maybe somewhere internally you were preparing to do it. And I did that at least a dozen times. How many times did I do it when I was so blackout drunk that I don't remember? And I very well could have forgot to remove the magazine and clear the chamber. And when I went like this, it would have said bang, and I would have been dead. And people would have found me and probably would have said, oh, that's sad. We understand. Adam was depressed. He killed somebody. He was struggling. But I never truly wanted to kill myself. But to this day, I don't know why I did it.
I find it incredibly liberating how freely you've shared your story, because it kind of helped me realize, really in my bones, that darkness looks the same to each of us. I don't have to go through what you've been through to put myself in your shoes. I can just listen to understand instead of listening to respond. And through seeing the darkness for what it is, we realize that we have to become the light to see our path. How is it you started to become your own light and work your way out of this?
After years, I just realized that it wasn't working for me anymore. I was tired, mentally and physically drained. I mean, I gained a bunch of weight. I think I gained like 60 pounds because I wasn't exercising anymore. I wasn't walking. I wasn't doing what I enjoyed. People would invite me to go do stuff, and I'd find every excuse not to go. I remember one time I even went to, I think it was some type of yard party. And when I showed up, they're like, wow, you do come out of your house. And just these little bits and pieces of everything, like, this ain't working for me no more. And I remember when I tried getting off the alcohol, because I realized I just didn't like how it made me feel. And I made a contract with myself at like 9:58 in the morning. I don't even remember writing it. I must have had a good night, because there was something inside me that realized, that's enough, Adam. You got to write this contract. And did it help? No, it didn't. I mean, it still took me years after. But once I had enough strength to slow down the alcohol use, what I would do is I would pour a glass of wine, and whatever was left in the wine bottle, I'd pour down the sink so I wouldn't drink the whole bottle. But what happened is on December 28th, 2021, I was attending an active shooter training at an elementary school, and we were watching a PowerPoint about the different active shooters that occurred over the years. And I was sitting comfortably like I am now. And I started feeling really, really hot, really uncomfortable, a knot in my stomach. And about a minute passed, I reached up to my forehead, and it was drenched in water. I was having a panic attack. And I remember my first reaction is, I have to fight this, and I have to hide it from everybody that's here. And there was about 20 or 30 other cops there. They all knew me. If I would have raised my hand and said, I can't do this, it would have been okay. They knew I was involved in a shooting. There was probably at least a handful of people that really knew me personally that would have supported me. But what was my first reaction? I got to fight it, and I got to hide it. And that's exactly what I did. And I continued the training, and I went through the training, and then I went on 2 days off. And I was a detective at the time. But on New Year's Eve, 2021, I worked a patrol shift. And I went into work. My shift was at 11 a.m. Just happened to be the same time my shift started on the day of my shooting. But I sat in my squad car. I was logging into my laptop and get everything situated. And I was like, you know what? Forget it. I'm done. I quit. I ain't doing this no more. And I don't think I wanted to quit being a cop. I think I just wanted to quit coping the way I had been for years. It wasn't working for me anymore. But I reached out to a sergeant, and I said, I'm quitting. I need you to come with me to the chief. And he met with me in my squad, and he goes, just hold up. You're not going to quit. I'll come with you. And I'm like, yeah, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. I quit. I need you to come with me. Let's go. So we went in there, and the chief, this was a new chief, not the chief that was with me during the shooting, but the new chief supported me. The sergeant supported me. They understood. They said, just go home, take some time off. The chief said, get a hold of me when you're ready to come back to work. And I did that. And I think about 2 weeks passed, and I reached out and said, I'm ready to come back to work. And he says, that's great. The only way you can come back to work is you need to have a fitness for duty evaluation. And I was all for it, because I had been speaking about my shooting and my mental health since 2019. This was January 2022. So I had no problem. Let's go to this fitness for duty test. I'm going to pass it. I'm fine. I can come back to work. I wasn't fine, but that's what I was telling myself. So I scheduled this appointment, and it was from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And while I'm driving there, I thought, I'm going to lie. I'm going to try to beat this test. There's nothing wrong with me. And then I got there, and I was sitting in the waiting room, and I thought to myself, you know what, Adam, the only way that you're going to get better is you have to be honest. You have to be honest with all the crap that you went through, everything that you've been involved. You have to be honest. So I chose to be honest. And I went through all the testing and I was unfit for duty. And I have a copy of my fitness for duty evaluation right here. And when I received it, I started reading through it and I started crying because inside this evaluation were answers to all the questions I had over the years. This was me. And I'm reading it and I'm like, yep, that's right. That's right. He has issues with trying to have a relationship, isolation, abusing, all this stuff. So I'm like, now what do I got to do to get better? So I requested a 90-day leave of absence from my chief, and that was approved through the police association. And I started working on myself, getting better. I was going to therapy 2-3 times a week. I was doing psychotherapy, which is talk therapy, EMDR, biofeedback, and DBT.
The switch that happened, you're driving there. I'm going to lie. I'm going to get through this. I'm just going to go back to work, blah, blah, blah. You get there and you say, I'm going to tell them everything. What did that feel like? Because I imagine, right, whenever I had a similar situation to you, not exactly the same, but like Aaron said, right, all of this darkness, all of it, it's all the same. We're all experiencing it. I imagine that there's these two voices talking in your head. There's the loud one, lie, 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 get back out there, get on the road, go do your job. And then there's the quiet one, the one that's been there for 7 years talking to you, or I'm sorry, 6 years talking to you saying, tell the truth, right? What did that feel like inside?
It was scary, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm a good person. I'm an honest person. So I think I was kind of battling that. I was born and raised by two great parents to always tell the truth and be a good person and tell the truth, even if it's difficult. But there was a part of me that's like, I don't need this. I'm fine. I survived fine over the last 6 years. I'll show up and do this freaking test and kind of
survive.
Yeah. But when I'm sitting there, I'm like, come on, Adam, you got to be honest. That's the only way you're going to get help. When you're sitting in that squad car and you're talking about, I'm done. I quit. I ain't going to do this anymore. What was the sense of all that if you're not going to be honest? If you're not going to get better? Maybe at the time I didn't realize that I didn't want to quit being a cop. I wanted to quit coping poorly, but somewhere inside I realized that. So when I'm in the waiting room, I thought, you just got to be honest. Just go to every test and be honest and be yourself, be who you are. You're an honest person. And eventually things will work out. At least I was hoping that. So the psychologist recommended 6 months short-term disability with the hope to go back to work in August. And I was going to therapy 2-3 times a week, and I didn't miss any appointment. I was doing EMDR, talk therapy, biofeedback, DBT, everything. It was great. I was getting healthy. I was getting better. I could feel it. But then in April, I was put on a safety plan because part of my evaluation, there were suicidal ideations, which I get. I mean, I was honest about my duty weapon and putting it to my head. And I wasn't offended by that. But, it's difficult and it's different. For many years, I was always there for other people when they were struggling and they were put on safety plans and they needed help for their mental health. But now it was me, and it's different when it's you. And then weeks after that, one of the sergeants came out to my house, and I lived out of the community where I was a police officer, and he gave me a written order that I have here to immediately cease and desist speaking about my personal testimonies when it comes to my shooting, because it makes the police department look bad. And it said if I didn't stop talking about my mental health and my experience, that I could be disciplined or terminated. And that scared the hell out of me because I had been doing that for many years. And I didn't understand why all of a sudden now they want me to shut up. I know they didn't like me being so transparent about my alcohol abuse, but I never mentioned the police department where I worked for by name. But I had been doing that for many years, and it was helping so many people. So I did. I stopped. I shut down my website. I stopped talking about it briefly. But then my leave of absence came to an end, and the chief reached out and said, can you come in, want to have a meeting and talk about your leave of absence? So I went in and met with him, and the sergeant that gave me that order was there too. And I liked both of them. It was kind of an awkward meeting and uncomfortable because I thought I was going to keep going, and I was feeling better. I was doing better. I was getting healthy. And the chief told me, we're not extending your leave of absence. You can either resign or you're going to be terminated. I had been there for 14 years. I had never been disciplined, suspended. I received awards. I received medals. I was the police department's first detective, the first shooting in the history of the police department. And now I'm getting walked out of the police department, kind of like they're washing their hands of me. And now I'm walking out of the police department and I'm like, what next? I'll tell you a story. As far back as I can remember, all I ever wanted to do was be a cop. And when I was a little boy, I lived in the city of Racine, which is in Wisconsin. And I lived on Highway 20, which is Washington Avenue, one of the main thoroughfares in and out of the city. And my parents said every time I would hear a siren, I'd run up to that window, look outside, and I'd see a police car. And I'm like, an car, because, the police siren. And I loved it. It was awesome. My parents said the first time I saw a police officer get out of an car, I was amazed. I looked at them and I said, an car man, I want to grow up and be an car man. So all my life, I wanted to grow up and be an car man, a police officer. So I took steps I thought were necessary, stay out of trouble, graduate from high school, went to college, became a military police in the Army. And then I was able to go back home to my hometown, city of Racine, and become an car man, a police officer. And it's great. I still remember driving the squad car by the county building and see these big, huge mirrored windows and seeing myself driving the squad car. And I'm like, this is what it's all about, baby. I love this. I'm doing,
This is the dream.
doing what I love
did it.
in the hometown where it all started. So now I'm at this police department and I'm driving out of the parking lot in my Jeep thinking, I just lost my dream job. What am I going to do? Nobody's going to hire me. If I apply at another police department, the background check, they're going to ask what happened. I'm going to tell them, and they're going to probably think, this guy's a nut job. He's a liability. We're not hiring him. I just felt like I was abandoned. I needed support more than ever.
But that's not how our story ends.
Right.
I see you sitting here today as a captain.
Absolutely.
On your journey to also become a certified peer specialist, which, I mean, this is a life-altering path you're talking about, like grabbing the timelines and deadlifting yours up.
Absolutely.
What changed as far as how you approach your mental health now? I mean, did the EMDR just erase it? Does the CBT so that now you can follow your decision trees? Can you tell us a little bit about these modalities and how they helped you learn and grow?
Sure. I got another path here. Talks about unfit for duty, terminated. After that, I really didn't know what I was going to do. I had no idea. I was still on unemployment, but that was kind of suspended because they wanted to make sure that I didn't do anything wrong or misconduct or anything like that. So they had to do an investigation. So any kind of unemployment benefits were put on hold. So I was chatting with my sister, Amy, and she goes, why don't you move down here? And that's like 3.5, 4 hours away. And I told her, you know what? I don't hardly have any money. She goes, Adam, all you have to do is get down here and we'll take care of the rest. So that's what I decided to do. Packed my stuff up, loaded up my Jeep and drove 3.5, 4 hours to my sister's house and moved into her basement. Her and I always joke that, hey, at least you didn't move into mom and dad's basement. So I'm like, you got to think positive, right?
Yeah, silver linings.
Yeah. And, at the time, I wasn't taking medicine. I wasn't seeing a therapist. And secretively behind my back, Amy was looking for a therapist for me. She was on the outside looking in and she saw that I was struggling. And I'm forever grateful for that because I knew I was struggling too. But would I take that step and go out there and try to find a therapist? No. But she did that for me and I appreciate that. And, I do take medicine. It's right here, 20 milligrams of Lexapro. It works for me. Every morning I wake up, I take a leak, I pop one of these pills and I hit the ground running. I go to work and do whatever I got to do. It works for me. I'll continue to take it as long as it works for me. I also see a therapist still. Every Monday at 5 p.m., I'm sitting on a couch talking to my therapist and it works. It helps me. So EMDR was great for me because for many years after my shooting, I didn't realize I was doing this, but for whatever reason, I was thinking that I wasn't good enough. I kept thinking, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. And we think probably because throughout my career, I always prided myself with talking people down. I never had to use force. Still to this day, I've never pepper sprayed anybody. I've never used my baton on anybody. I've had to tase people sometimes. But here comes this incident where somebody's coming at me with a hatchet, and I had no choice. I had to use deadly force to stop the threat. But for whatever reason, I kept thinking I'm not good enough, because if I was good enough, I wouldn't have had to shoot her. But that's not the case. I am good enough because I was able to do my job that day. I didn't chicken out. Who knows what would have happened if I wouldn't have shot? But EMDR opened that up for me. EMDR helped me realize that. So EMDR is great. It works so much. It worked well for me. And it's such an important tool. I had to put myself first. And that's difficult with first responders, with police, with military, because what we do is we help others. We put everybody else first. We take care of everybody else first. And we kind of abandon our own needs. And that you need to take care of yourself. So what I did was I finally put myself first, got back into therapy, taking medicine, and I started getting healthy, like really healthy, better. And I could tell I was getting better. And once I got to the point where I was thinking, I want to be a cop. I still want to be a cop. I have a lot of training, a lot of experience, especially when it comes to my shooting and mental health now, that most cops don't. And I don't want them to have it. But I want to get back on the job. I love being a cop. I've always wanted to be an ERCAR man, a police officer. I want to be an ERCAR man again.
Got to get back to it.
Right. So what I did was one day I decided I'm going to send out 50 applications, state applications, cover letters, resumes to 50 police departments within 30 miles of where I was living. And I mailed them out. And the next day, police departments started calling me. They wanted to schedule in-person interviews, virtual interviews. They were interested in me. And I'm thinking, wow, they want me. So I started interviewing, and there was a 2-week period where 3 agencies offered me conditional offers of employment, and from 3 different counties, and I got to choose one, and I chose where I work now. How did that happen? Because I put myself first. It's not easy. It's not easy to reach out for help. It's not easy to talk about your mental health, but it's okay. You're not the only one. Don't suffer in silence, because there's so many people out there that want to help you, and not just because they're getting paid for it.
Most people who find themselves working in the first responder field, or working as a police officer, EMT, firefighter, there's a reason why they get into that field. And a lot of the times it's because they want to help people, right? Think about it in the same way for psychiatrists and psychologists and individuals who are practicing these various therapy modalities,
right?
EMDR specialists, counselors, you name it, right? Yep. There's a reason why they got in that field. It's not because they're trying to get a paycheck. It's because they want to help people. Right. Same reason why people become a cop. Same reason why people become first responders. They're doing it because that is where their passion lays. These counselors and therapy modality, psychologists, psychiatrists, professionals, right? They helped you. And now look at you. You put yourself first, and now you're back to being a first responder. I mean, right. It's in the name. Am I right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, there are a couple sayings that are kind of coming to mind here. I had an interesting conversation with an old girlfriend where she was kind of trying to figure out why American first responders die at such a higher rate than other countries. And through our conversations, it was the hero complex. I have to save this thing. I have to sacrifice myself. But through our conversation, she kind of convinced me that you can't save anyone if you're dead.
Right.
So instead of sacrificing yourself, do it smart, do it sustainably, so you can have a larger impact over time.
Right.
I think it's amazing that you found that for yourself. And then a second, it's almost like a Dale Carnegie, but it's some, huge business fellow. And he said, I used to say, I'll take care of you if you take care of me. But now I say, I'll take care of me for you, and you take care of you for me. Mm-hmm. Because the only thing we can affect is ourselves, our
Right.
impact, our inputs and outputs.
Right.
We can't affect other people. So if you have a problem with something going on in your life, the only way you can attack that problem is by becoming the solution. So I find it amazing that you said you tried all these different therapy modalities, but it was you who had to choose to heal.
I just came to the reality of my life sucks, man. I need help. And if I want to get better and be happy and be the goofy Adam everybody knows me to be and stuff like that, I need to get some help. And, you know, when I moved down and moved in with my sister, I was struggling trying to find a job because all I knew was being a police officer, all my training, all my experience. And I got multiple jobs and they just weren't good fits. And I'm thinking, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
I realized, and I learned through therapy, my therapist told me, you know, Adam, you're a good person. You're a good person. You want to help people. That's in your nature. That's how you were raised. That's who you are. You would do that if you're a police officer or no matter what job you were in. Okay, you're a good person. You want to help people. I know you've been a cop for many, many years. Now you're not, but you're a good person. And I'm like, yeah, you know, you got a point. So it made me do a lot of thinking. You know, I'm a good person if I'm a cop or not. I'm going to help people if I'm a cop or not. But once I got healthy, I realized that's what I want to do. I want to get back into it. And I'm blessed. I'm so blessed that I got hired again. And I thank myself because, hey, Adam, you know what? Finally, you put yourself first. And it wasn't easy and it's important and it takes work and there's no guarantee, but it's important. It's important to heal and to get better because I have a long, long life ahead of me. And I did not want to keep living the way I was living.
I love the area we're at in this conversation too, because we have had the amazing opportunity to sit down and hear your entire story. Well, I would say the beginning portions at least, because you painted us a very vivid picture, but it sounds like you're starting to get into the genesis of honestly the thing that we haven't even got to mention yet. Adam, you've gone through something traumatic. You faced this stigma. You got shut down. You got brought back. You healed. And then you said, I'm going to continue helping people. You went back into law enforcement, but you also started something beautiful. That is your company, your nonprofit, Stop the Threat, Stop the Stigma.
Right.
And I really want to know, what was the moment you said, I need to do this? And then what do you do?
Yeah, honestly, I remember sitting in the conference room at the police department like an hour after my shooting. And I thought, well, once this is all said and done, I'm going to share my experience with other people. I knew right away I was going to do it. I didn't know it was going to take many years and that I would have been drugged through hell and anything like that. I had no idea.
A Shawshank Mile or two.
Yeah, I had no idea what was in store for me. But I know that, initially I created Stop the Threat, Stop the Stigma on Facebook. I started speaking in 2019 and 2020. I created Stop the Threat, Stop the Stigma on Facebook. And I did that to share my experience in hopes that it'll inspire other law enforcement professions, those who work in the law enforcement, public safety profession, first responders, to speak about their mental health. It's okay to talk about your mental health. You're not alone. Don't suffer in silence. And once I started speaking publicly, I would speak at colleges, I would speak at churches, I would speak to anybody who would listen to me, sometimes even one-on-one. And I realized that so much of us are struggling with mental health. And it doesn't matter what profession you're in. It doesn't matter where in the world you live in, because I've spoken with other police officers and other people in Canada, in South Africa, and we can all relate to mental health challenges. We either are going through it, we went through it, or we know somebody. So it's okay. And I just want to help stop that stigma. Honestly, I don't think it'll ever stop. I think it'll get better, and it is getting better. But when you're struggling with mental health, you shouldn't have to second guess reaching out for help. If you're truly struggling and you need help, you should be able to reach out and know that there's not going to be any kind of repercussions. Know that you're not going to lose your job, that you're not going to lose your livelihood. A dream job like me, like all I wanted to do was grow up and be an ER man, and now because I'm struggling with mental health, I lost my job. It's just, you shouldn't have to think that way. You should be able to reach out and know help is there. Support should be there. And I think it starts in, For police officers, I think it starts when you're trying to get your criminal justice degree, or when you go into the military, when you go to the police academy, when you get hired by a police department, a sheriff's department. It needs to be normalized. It needs to be normalized so it's okay. Hey, I'm struggling. I'm going to reach out. It's okay. I'm not going to be criticized. I'm not going to be shunned or shamed, because more first responders, veterans, people just, no matter where they're working, are dying by suicide because they think they're alone and because they're struggling, and they think if they reach out for help, they're going to lose everything. So you know what? Forget it. I'm just going to end it now because I'm going to lose everything anyways. And that's not the way it should be. It just shouldn't be that way. So that's why I established Stop the Threat, Stop the Stigma, in hopes that by sharing my experience, it'll reach one more person. That's why I don't sugarcoat it. I've been told, at the police department I used to work for, I remember somebody telling me, maybe you shouldn't go into detail on how you abused alcohol. Maybe you should just say, yeah, I abused alcohol. Well, abusing alcohol is different. Me, I abused it. I made my own cocktails. I was a drunk. I don't sugarcoat it. I be as transparent as I possibly can about my experience, because I know there's somebody else out there that'll be able to relate to that and be like, hey, I'm not alone. I need to get help. Hey, this guy did it. I can do it. And you don't have to go on a podcast. You don't have to tell the world what you're going through, but please reach out. There are many people out there that'll help you, that care about you, that love you, that want to be there for you. I met complete strangers that said they prayed for me when I was, after my shooting. They'd recognize me when I was on the road again. And they were like, hey, are you Adam? Were you that cop that was in the shooting? And I would say, yeah. And they'd say, we prayed for you. We were hoping you were going to be okay. Can I give you a hug? And these were strangers. So that's why I started Stop the Threat, Stop the Stigma, because I want people to know it's okay. It's okay to talk about your mental health, and you're not alone.
Adam, there's many different times when your story could have ended differently.
Yeah.
But it didn't.
Right.
And I love the message you're giving for people. If anybody out there listening right now, if you're going through or hiding some of the same pain that Adam was, or that I have, or that Aaron has, I love your advice. The support of family, friends, counselors, strangers even. Reach out to Adam. Reach out to us. We want to help.
Well, and technology is great. I have my cell phone right here. You can sit on the couch. You can lay in bed, and you can search, mental health counselors. You can, and not only that, if you know somebody who's struggling and you can't do the face-to-face because it's uncomfortable, or you really don't know what to say and it's awkward, send a text. Hop on Messenger and, for example, say, hey, Adam, I love you. I know you're struggling. If you need something, let me know. That means a lot. They might not respond, because that happened to me a lot. People were reaching out to me, and I'd read and I'd be like, yeah, whatever. But it still mattered. It was still important because I knew somebody was out there. I didn't always respond, but I knew they were there, and that's so important. So please, if you know somebody who's struggling, reach out.
I have a hard question for you, Adam. If you could right now go back to 2016 and give yourself some advice, what would it be?
Listen to people who care about you. Listen to therapists that know what they're talking about. I remember when I first started seeing a therapist, they told me, healthy in, healthy out. Eat healthy, don't drink alcohol, stay off social media. I didn't listen to any of that stuff. But I wish I would have listened to people who knew what they were talking about, because I didn't. I thought I could take care of it all myself, and I couldn't. And I truly believe that led to years of poor coping. But it's not an easy thing to do. It's not normal to go to work and shoot and kill somebody. I lived in that community. I worked in that community. I went to that Walmart all the time. I never knew one day I would be in there shooting somebody. So when that happens, I think a part of me was trying to keep going as I was going before my shooting, but it's not. That trauma changes you. Please listen to people who know what they're talking about. It's difficult, but please do that.
During your time when you were struggling and going through it, the people that you feel as if you had hurt them, have those people since forgiven you?
They have. They said they're very proud of me for being so open and sharing my experience like this. And, just yesterday, I wasn't able to spend Mother's Day with my mom, but I stopped because she was out with my dad. I met with her yesterday, and we were talking, and she's the best. My mom and dad are just great, and they were there for me the whole time. And yesterday, my mom and I were talking, and she says, every time that you do a podcast or write something, I listen and I learn more and more. And she said, when you were talking about casual sex and having sex with different women, and I kind of knew you were doing it, but I didn't realize the extent of it, and I really didn't know what to say. And I wish I could have been there more for you. And I said, Mom, I love you. You were there for me. You didn't judge me. You were always there and listened to me. But they've forgiven me, and they're proud of me. And we talk openly about those years. And I'm grateful for that because their support is so important. One of the reasons why I'm here today.
Well, first of all, hi, Adam's mom. Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah.
Subscribe.
I'm really glad. Subscribe. No, I'm really glad that your son is here talking to us. Second, I think it's really important to clarify that because I sat down with a very dear friend of mine. His name is Matthew Pickle on episode 89. And he was talking about when he got out of the military, when he transitioned and life just kind of fell apart for him and he wasn't expecting it. He had mentioned, and this is a common factor, but he had mentioned that there were people he had hurt during his time when he was going through it. There were people I've hurt when I was going through it, when I was abusing alcohol and treating people like shit, because that's the only thing I feel nothing inside. So I'm going to yell at you because I don't have any emotion. And I look back on those days and I've realized a lot of those people whom I've hurt during that time, a lot of people that Matthew Pickle had hurt during his time, a lot of people that you had hurt during your time, they've forgiven you. And I know there's this sense of shame that comes along once you finally start seeing the light and you're like, oh my God, I treated those people so terrible. I sent them messages, saying the worst things about them because I was in so much pain.
Yeah.
But they've forgiven us. We went through a hard time, and that doesn't excuse it. Just because you've had trauma doesn't mean you are allowed to mistreat people.
You are still responsible for your own karma.
100%. But the shame that you feel afterwards, you don't have to feel that. You can reach out and say, hey, I'm really sorry. You don't have to accept me back in your life. But I just wanted to let you know that I have healed. I have gone through it. I've got my therapy, my counselors, my modalities. I see now where I was wrong. And I just want to let you know that I'm sorry. And that's one of those things where we talked about with Ryan Higginson of healing soul to soul. Maybe that person's not going to be receptive to that, but put it out there in the universe. Let that shame go. You're saving lives, Adam. You're saving him out there on the street and you're saving him here. Whenever you're aligned with something, whenever you're growing closer to source and you're on the right path, everything starts clicking. You found the right place to be. You found the right chief to work with.
Yeah.
You found yourself in a position where you can now help others heal through the darkness that you had gone through.
I'm religious. I was born and raised Lutheran. I was baptized and confirmed and go to church every Sunday and youth group every Wednesday. And there were many nights I went to bed and I prayed to God that he wouldn't let me wake up. I remember that. Him and I had some pretty good conversations, and I was pretty pissed off at him. But I truly believe I'm here because this was the journey that he had planned for me. This is why I'm here. This is bigger than me. And I went through hell because this is what I was supposed to be doing. And I agree with you. This is what I'm supposed to be doing, helping people. And if I can just help one more person, that's what it's all about.
Adam, your message aligns so closely with ours, and I'm so stoked we got to have this conversation. I want to thank you personally and from the bottom of my heart for your vulnerability, your honesty, and for refusing to let your pain have the last word.
I want to let all of our listeners know, if Adam's words today have stirred something in you, don't ignore it. Those moments, the healing, it doesn't start with perfection. You don't just climb out of the darkness. The light isn't all of a sudden there. It starts with the decision to keep going.
And of course, we're going to have the links to Adam's website and all his socials down in the show notes. But his website, just to reiterate, is Stop the Threat, Stop the Stigma. And please visit, please share this episode, and let's keep this conversation going. It's okay to not be okay, but you have to talk about it with somebody. So don't keep it bottled up.
This is a perfect opportunity for me to let the audience know, if you are struggling with something or you're carrying something heavy, first of all, you're not alone. And if you do not know what pathway to take or any opportunities for you to heal yourself, we have partnered with BetterHelp.com. You can use our link, BetterHelp.com/NSLP. You'll be able to connect with a licensed therapist in the comfort of your own home, so you don't even have to leave. It'll be therapy on your terms, whenever you need it, for as long as you need it. And using our code, you'll save 10% off your first month.
And if you don't have a community around you, join our Sangha. If you have your own Sangha, bring this healing to them. And speaking of Sangha, here's ours. Tim, do you want to start at the top of the list?
I want to go ahead and give a huge shout out to our top patrons over on Patreon. You guys are keeping the lights on this show. You're helping drive this show forward. And it's because of you that we get to sit down with somebody like Captain Adam Meyers and hear his story and share it with our audience. So huge shout out to our top tier. We have Atticus Thatcher, the man, the myth, the musician, legend himself, as well as Eric Spears and the illustrious Jason Grooms. Eric Spears, you also have a nickname. I like to call you the Handsome.
At our first shout out tier, we have Highland Markle and Ketria Hausner, two of our best friends who've been with us since the beginning, some even before that. And, we love you and care about you. So, final reminder, our podcast cannot be substituted for professional medical advice.
If you do need help now, please call 911 or text or call 988 for immediate intervention.
Make sure you're being good to yourself and each other's self that you run into today.
We love you.
Peace.
No street lights, but we're finding our way. In the dark, but we've got something to say. Lessons learned and stories untold.